I was just scared. I didn't want to like leave the room. This is the most insane thing I've ever heard. And then there are those that don't believe in any of it, right? A water witcher, a well diviner.
This was a gift that someone passed down to me and forbid me to ever share.
I mean, I want to see it. Can you like show us how you do this?
I don't know what any of that was, but I mean, you tell me. Like, I'm not making any of it up.
I'm telling you, I was there and it was insane. I've just got so much to say. I'm just telling you, this is a weird story.
Hey, everybody. I put a post on my Facebook and Instagram asking if anyone had ever heard of people who could find water underground. And these people, I guess some people call them water witches, and that they would use sticks or whatever to deep in the ground find water reservoirs or water. And so anyways, I thought it sounded super absurd. I've heard little, conversations about this in random spots over the years. And anyways, this is Brandon Batson and Jared Barber, two of my dear friends, and they have the wildest story apparently to share with you guys. So whoever wants to start first, give us the story of the water witch or whatever it is.
Right.
Brandon,
I don't want to take over. I don't want to take over quick and hard, but I've just got so much to say. And so
same.
I want to start by saying that if there are already people in the thread who are like, have a lot of opinions about this. Some people who are like, I fully believe in water witching and like, it's not a weird thing. And, good on you. Like I'm with you. Like, okay, I'm sure that there's validity to it, and I'm sure that like it's not weird or like otherworldly. And then there are those that don't believe in any of it, right? I'm going to tell you a story that this is not a story advocating well witchery or not advocating well witchery. I'm just telling you this is a weird story. So Jared and I used to travel with the group, a Southern gospel singing group that many of you may know. I won't mention the name to protect the innocent, but that's attached to a certain religious institution that maybe all three of us went to. So we were on a trip with this particular group, and we stayed in host homes, which is where you're going to play at a church, and the people within the church open up their houses to you so that you don't have to pay for hotel or lodging. And so at the time, me, Jared, and Tyler Stroud were part of the band for this Southern gospel singing group. And so our house was out in the middle of nowhere. This was up in, where was this?
We were in Lake
Brevard.
Toxaway,
Right.
North Carolina, somewhere in there.
Yeah. And so we go to this house, and it's like a huge, beautiful farmhouse on this like huge piece of property. And we're like, oh, finally, because normally they stuck the band in like the most degenerate housing that you could possibly imagine. So we get to this house, and it's this, really seemingly nice couple, this, older couple. And they kind of like show us to our rooms. Me and Tyler were staying in the upstairs of the house.
Inside the house.
Yes, inside the house. But Jared had other lodging. So I'll let Jared tell where he had stayed.
Well, there was also a fourth person staying with us in this home. And if you remember, Brandon, Matt Stain was with us. But Matt had a really long week, and he kind of missed out on everything that we're about to unfold for everybody.
I don't even remember him being there, honestly.
He was there, and he was with me out there in where I was staying. It was like this, imagine a detached garage with a super, like the most narrow stairwell, crickety, like spooky stairwell that led up to a little bitty room, no AC, no heat, just a single light with a pull string in the middle and two twin beds. And I'm like, this is so strange. So Matt was really tired. We get there, we get in the host home. Matt's like, guys, I gotta go to bed. And he goes to bed in one of the twin beds. and then every part of the story that will tell you happened and transpired after he was already asleep. So yeah, he was with us. So he still doesn't. I don't even know if he believes anything that we're about to tell you guys. But
so I think we had dinner or something like around the TV. I remember like we were watching TV, and even during that, like the vibe is very strange. Like it kind of comes to pass that we figure out that these people are like, they're nice, but there's just a weird vibe in the home. And I remember distinctly that there was something that was kept on happening with the TV where it would like turn
we
off
go.
or like or the screen would like spaz out like every like 10 or 15 minutes, and they would be like, oh well, that, like it was just completely normal that would happen, and it
It's
wasn't
like
like just like a glitch or something. It was like
it was the TV, and then it would be like then it's something else would
right.
go off. Remember, it was just different
Mm-hmm.
things would off, on, light, whatever. It was so strange.
And so then, of course, most people don't get very intimate with their host home families. Typically, they go into their rooms and whatever. But it was always kind of like my mantle, and what I was known for is like I start trying to get stuff out of these people. Like I want to know what they do. I want to know what they believe. I want to like really get into the bottom of their lives. And so I start asking just my general questions that I go to. And I think like I was like, well, what do you guys, what do you guys do? What do you guys do for a living? And he's like, well, I'm an electrician or plumber, like some sort of like, middle class job or whatever. And I was thinking to myself, like, how did they afford this home? I can't remember what the job was, but it was like, there's no way they afford this home off that. So I'm like, what does she do? And I'm like, well, what do you do? She's like, well, it's a little strange. And I'm like, I perk up. I'm like, okay, let's hear it. And she says, I'm a well. I don't know if she said she's
She
a well
said, "I'm a
witch. I
water."
think
She said, "A water witcher."
a water witcher, a well diviner. And I said, excuse me? And she explained that, there's like centuries old tradition of these people who are able to, without the use of any kind of mechanical or scientific thing, like go out into the woods with like a sassafras root or these two metal sticks or whatever the person uses, and they're able to find water for like huge companies that may be putting in like a real estate development up on a mountain where no one can find a well, right? But she, over for years and years and years, has been able to do this and has the skill. And we're like, okay. And of course, I could have just let it go there. Like, it's already weird. Let's just let it go. But I'm like, I want to see it. Can you like show us how you do this? So she takes us into the kitchen and she goes under this cupboard. She opens it up and she pulls out like the most stupid assortment of things you've ever seen. Like it's just like a bucket, some sort of like root from the ground that looks like
It was bamboo, if I remember right.
Yeah. Right. And then like she had like a dial soap container, but it had like some sort of strange solution in it. And then some potion. So she dumps that potion into the bucket along with some other stuff she had in this, cupboard, and she dips that stick in there, and the tip of the stick in there, and then she starts walking around.
Can I interrupt? Because I don't want to forget. I'm recalling a detail. Her husband says, and they're explaining the story, and she's like, "This was a gift that someone passed down to me and forbid me to ever share exactly how I do this. But it's a gift." She presented it as it's a gift that's been passed on to me from this person who.
And she had been forbidden to share this, and she's sharing it with us. Okay, so she starts walking around the kitchen with this freaking root, and she's like,
blindfolded.
Oh no!
We blindfolded her, remember, and we put water in a bowl in the middle of the living room, and she's just walking around like this, and we're guiding her around everywhere until she gets over that thing of water with the root,
yes.
and then
she goes, in like this like strange like motion that I I just I
I've
couldn't
never seen
believe
anything
it.
like
I
it.
couldn't believe it when I saw it. Like it wasn't just like this. It was like I've never seen anything this fast in my life. It's like and like she was right over
The
the water.
stick was it was violent. The stick was like, and it was just like
It was just like
some force was just like it was strange.
okay. So I don't really remember like how we get out of this, and I guess we got to move on a little quicker into the meat of the story. But I mean, we are wigged out, right? But
Yeah.
still, I'm kind of just like I don't know. It's good to know. It's important for you to know that I knew nothing about this practice before this. So Tyler, Jared, and I, before Jared goes back out to his like silo,
Dungeon.
we go up into my room upstairs and we're talking, and Jared starts to like freak out, and he's like, this like I don't know if you guys know, but this is like demonic. And you were like a little more fundamentalist back then. Let's be honest, like
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
a little more towards that feel, not
Well,
fully,
dude,
but like
it wasn't two sticks like you see in science class where, the metals come to get, I don't know, you've
So
seen
you
those
said
illustrations.
it was a root. So like
This was a bamboo wooden thing that started violently moving in her hand when it got over the water. She was not manipulating it.
So it was like
a
one
1,000%.
stick or one root, or was it two separate things that like
It was
had a
shaped like
connection?
a wishbone, one
yeah,
single
so it's
root.
like and then comes down into a thing, so you can like hold it. And, yeah, so he starts like saying like this is scary and like demonic. And I said, well, like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, the Bible like warns against divination and like knowing unknowable things. And like this very much is like in that same vein, right? And of course, like me, I'm always the skeptic. Like, I mean, they've divorced me a long time ago, right? But I'm just like, Jared, this is the most insane thing I've ever heard. Like, I understand this is weird, but like, come on, man, like, chill out. And he's like, I don't know what else happened in that conversation, but essentially, like, Jared's like, all right, well, I'm going to go in the silo. You guys have a good time. So it's important to note that Tyler and I were in rooms beside each other on this like long, dark hallway. I was at the very end in like a larger room, and Tyler was in a room like right next to mine, like on the hallway. It's really late at night. We're out in the middle of the woods. Like I was watching a TV that was in that room for the longest time, and then I'm just decide like I'm gonna go to sleep. So I lay down in the bed, and I don't feel good. Like it's that feeling that you have when you like someone's following you, and someone's following you, but you don't even have to look back. You didn't see them, but you just know someone's like in your immediate vicinity, right? And I'm like, I don't know why I feel so uncomfortable in this house. And so and outside, we're out in the middle of the woods, and there is like a certain white noise that only people who grew up in the South and like are out in the woods know. It's like you can hear it through your house, like bugs and wind and like just the white noise of being out in the woods, right? And I kid you not, the white noise outside went and it was gone. I'm like unplug my ears. I'm like, what is going on? Like I think like I'm having like some sort of hearing loss or something, because like all of the outside noise, I'm talking about thousands of bugs and just ridiculous noise, the wind, white noise, gone in a second. And I'm just laying there and I'm like, that's really strange. But I kind of just like relax, and then it all comes back like in a second, like a rush of wind, like you know what I mean? And it all comes back. I'm like, ooh, strange. Right after that, now the door is like right here, and I'm actually laying in the bed on my side, looking out the door into the hallway. And I start feeling a presence like in the bed with me. And I'm talking about like right up on my back. And I literally can almost feel like someone's lips are like right on my ear like this. And I'm laying in the bed and like that is what I feel. And I am literally like this because like I just know this because like I just know that something is about to like say something to me or touch me, and I'm prepared for it. Now at the time, like I'm super skeptical even then, and I'm like, this woman has freaking snuck into my room and is in the bed with me. Like that was what I was thinking. Like I'm like, there's about to be an assault. And like I was thinking like this woman has somehow ascended the stairs, snuck into my room while we were talking, and is in the bed with me. And I feel like there's something like right on my ear, like it is like not quite whispering, but I won't say that something spoke to me because that's just too far. But I just, the presence that I was feeling like after I sat there for a minute was like, there's like a little like girl like in my ear. And I don't know how that's what I had in my head, but that's what I felt like. I'm like, there is like a little like child that is about to speak something this close to my ear. And then all of a sudden, like it just kind of fades. And I like turn around finally, and of course nothing's there, nothing's in the room. And I just stayed up like the rest of the night, like sitting dead center of the bed, feet crossed, just kind of like and I didn't go out and see Jared. I was just scared. I didn't want to like leave the room. You know what I mean? Like I don't know why I didn't go and knock on Tyler's door or go out to the silo and find Jared, but I didn't. I just sat there in the center of the room. And so the next morning I wake up and Jared, do you want to tell what's happening to you at this time? Or do you want me to tell what I found out from Tyler?
Well, I think Tyler's kind of brings it all together.
Okay.
Because Tyler's was the last thing that we discovered. So I wake up, and I've had quite an experience, and I'll tell you about it, and I'll try to condense it for sake of length of time here. But Brandon's like, dude, and so we go into the bathroom. He's like, there's something in this house. He's like, there's something in here. And I'm like, tell me about it. Like, I know. Something visited me last night. And it was so strange. So I'm upstairs in the silo outside, and Matt's asleep. So it's about 11 p.m., right? My phone rings, like, as I lay down in the bed. And this is before smartphones. I had a flip phone. And so it just said restricted. That never happens. And I never get calls at 11 o'clock at night, So I answered it. It's just static on the other line. So I just kind of ignored it. Hung up. Phone rings again at midnight. I'm still kind of laying awake, kind of thinking about everything that just happened in the living room with, the lady and her bamboo sticks. And so phone rings again at 12 p.m., like on the dot. Static. Wakes Matt up. Matt's like, who keeps calling you? I'm like, I don't know. I'm sorry. Phone rings every hour for the next 3 hours. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. on the hour. Okay. We'll back up to 2 a.m. It's about 2:15 in the morning. I'm laying there and I'm trying to go to sleep. I still can't go to sleep. And it's like something comes and like shoop, gets right in my face. And just some weird, again, like Brandon was describing, just this really strange presence and this really strange, just like all the sound just kind of sucks out of the room. And it frightened me. It was absolutely frightening. And I mean, I remember I sat up and I looked over to see where's Matt, because at least I'm not in the room by myself. So I'm not quite as scared. And, but yeah, this overwhelmingly just terrible feeling that I'm not by myself. And not just he and I aren't by ourselves. There's something else in here with us. So 3 a.m. my phone rings for the final time, but this time someone is on the other line. And I say, hello. And it was a little girl on the other line.
You're lying.
And
You're lying.
oh, Micah, I wish I
Mm-mm,
were. Listen, you know me. I'm your friend. I'm one of the most sane people you know, okay? There was a little girl on the other line. And and this is the part that I can't recall. She either said, my name is Jennifer and I'm looking for some other girl, or she said, my name is something else and I'm looking for Jennifer. I can't remember which one it was. I just remember the name Jennifer. And so I just had the kind of wherewithal in that moment to remember my phone is from Florida, which is where I'm from. It was a 352 area code, but I'm in North Carolina. And I'm like, so I just asked her, I said, this person you're trying to reach, where does she live? And she just sat there and didn't say anything. I said, where does she live? Until like 10 seconds passed by. And she says, why are you asking me so many questions? And I'm like, what in the world? Hang up. She hangs up, not me. Phone just hangs up. And immediately, Brandon, do you remember this? It starts pouring rain. Pouring rain, 3 a.m,
and
right
that's
in that moment.
that's the
Guys,
part that I forgot.
This is the weirdest story I think I've ever heard.
So that's the part that I forgot, is that when the sound came back, it was the rain. Like, that's how the sound came back. So there was no sound in my room. And when it all came back in one foul swoop, and the first thing I heard were those rain droplets, and then all of the sound came flooding back, and it was pouring rain outside.
Like, yeah. So anyways, wake up. We exchanged these stories because we both had this really strange situation happen. By the way, my phone never rang again. It was restricted every single time, so I couldn't go back and figure out who it was. But so we wake up. Tyler's listening to the story, and Tyler's like, well, guys, come here. Let's check this out. And takes us up to his room. And Brandon, why don't you tell the people what Brandon showed us? I'm sorry, what Tyler showed us when we went up to his room.
So we go up to his room, which is right beside mine, and we walk in, and it's this, like, the room is so strange. Like, all the rooms were crazy different. His room is lined in, like, it's like a wooden room. The whole room is like wood paneling all over the entire room, and there are pictures all over the room. There's one behind the bed. There's one on the wall as you come in. There's a whole dresser full of pictures, and they are all of a little girl. Every single one, the same little girl. Now, this is a little girl that, while we asked them, what's going on with your family? Like, who's your family? Like, do you have any, but never mentioned a child, never mentioned a daughter, never mentioned this strange person who, there's no other people in these pictures. They're all of this little girl, and they're all in that room that Tyler was staying in.
Well, one of them bothered Tyler so bad that before he went to sleep, he took it off the wall and faced it towards the wall while he slept. He said, it bothered me so bad I couldn't look at it.
And now this all happened independently. This story was not created like with us all in the same place. Like, this was all happening in different rooms of this home.
So I don't know what any of that was, but I mean, you tell me. Like, I'm not making any of it up.
No. And I have worried over the years that my Irish heritage of not letting the truth get in the way of a good story may have, like, altered this or made it bigger than it was. But every single time we tell it, it's exactly the same. Like, when I was like, maybe Jared's going to come back and he's going to say, like, it didn't happen that way. Like, you've exaggerated. It is the same story the first day that it is today. And when we went back and told people about this, now these are, I don't want to say too much, but these are Christian people who are supposed to believe in spiritual warfare. We were drugged. People straight up, like, accused us of, like, creating a story and, like, trying, because we were, like, just didn't like this particular group we were part of and different things like that, and, like, tried to say that we were insane and we were just making up a story and we were just, like, seeking attention and all this kind of stuff. No one believed us. Not one person.
Nobody.
To this day, probably. This will probably reignite the discussions around this.
And that's fine. I mean, I literally, I remember telling Matt the next one, he's like, nah, you're full of crap. I'm like, bro, I am not. I know what happened. It's like everyone tried to convince me that it wasn't real, but man. So, Micah, what do you make of that?
I don't know. There have been times where I've felt that when I knew, like, I was in a room or in a space that I knew I was by myself, whether it was like a library, and then oddly, I just like, you could either hear sounds or almost like a breathing or a presence that you weren't alone. I've like felt that feeling before, but I have never experienced like the stuff that y'all are saying. That's
And I
story,
never have
guys.
since. That's the only time I've ever had an experience like that in my life. Nothing.
Well, yeah. And I'll be honest, I'm the first person to dismiss somebody who would tell a story like this.
Oh, he wouldn't believe me at all if he hadn't been a part of it.
So, I mean, I'll put that out there. Like, if you don't believe this, that's 100% fine. And you may think that there was some other kind of explanation for why this happened, but I'm telling you, I was there, and it was insane.
So what do y'all personally like label it as, or what would y'all call it or claim it?
I can't say with any certainty. I think that it was, I'll use a safe word and say it was supernatural.
Right. I don't want to label it as anything that, I mean, like, I don't know that there was like any warfare necessarily, because I didn't feel like any kind of, I don't even feel that it was malevolent in any way. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't get that sense. I mean, it scared the bejesus out of me because I'd never experienced anything like that. But I don't look back on it and like, oh, demonic forces were at work inside of this woman's home. But I do believe I don't know that I believe this. I'll go ahead and say that. I'm going to say this. I don't know that I believe it, but it does seem congruent with what a lot of people have said, that like when you allow yourself to be open to hearing from something beyond, you should be careful because you're opening yourself up to hearing from things from beyond. You know what I mean?
Was there any follow-up conversation with the host people at all?
No way, bro.
We got out of there as quickly. We literally got in because we had the van that transports everyone, and so
I don't think we spoke to them that morning. I think we got
up and we got out. Yeah, we took showers and we left. Period.
Wow. Well, guys, thank you for telling that story. That is incredible.
I can't wait to read the comments of everybody.
But before we go, who you guys voting for in November?
I don't know who I'm voting for, if you want to know the truth of it.
Well, good.
If anyone campaigns to be a water witch, that's where my vote's going.
Right.
Same, man. Same.
Guys,
well, it's been good talking to you guys.
Thank you for sharing that story. And like Jared said, I am curious to see what comments come out of watching this.
See, bro.